NATO. And what does it really cost you? Because, well, mainstream media and news outlets in general, well, they're lying to you. I know, there's no surprise there, is there? Let's be fair. But it's easy for them to sell their papers, and get clicks and what have you. With hate, anger, the fear of being robbed. In this case, by a group of countries right over there, thousands of miles away in Europe. Why should the American people be funding Europe's security? Well, actually, you're not. There's a whole load of other benefits other than security of being a member of NATO. But you're not funding NATO. No. It is an alliance. Now, there is a part of NATO that you do fund, and that's why I get into this video, is the two parts of funding that the United States and all the other 31 members of NATO, how they contribute to NATO. And I thought I'd choose an American website, means you're going to think I'm biased. Because I'm here in France. Now, first thing I want to get out there is we all need to spend more money. Okay? We all need to spend more money on defence. That's a given. Okay? And before anyone says, we need to spend more money, we do. We need to spend more money. A lot more money. Trump might be right on that one. They're a 5%. He might be right on that. Because quite frankly, how things are at the moment, it ain't looking great, is it? But I'd rather be in the alliance than being out of the alliance, a defence alliance. Most definitely. When you consider NATO as a whole is much larger and more troops, what have you, than China, for instance. And China's got a huge army, which I might get into in a moment. So yeah, what is NATO? And what does it cost to be a member? Well, first of all, it's a group of, alliance of 32 countries. And it stands for, it's formed in 1949, and it stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation. Right? That's NATO. And it's basically, think of the Three Musketeers, right? One for all for one and all that, If one country gets invaded, so if, say, for instance, Ukraine was a member, if they got invaded, which they have been, all the other countries within the NATO group, if they were in NATO, which they're not, would all muck in, do their bit. But the one thing we need to remember is, we all could contribute with our military. I don't mean to say that we're not dictated to how much we contribute. So you could even withhold a certain, you could. But you still have obligations, obviously. And the obligation is obviously to remove the aggressor. Obviously, Ukraine, it'd be Vladimir Putin. Don't give me all the thing about the mince accord. Whatever you do, I'll just shoot you down in flames. Heard it all before. So what is NATO and why was it formed? Now, it is a military alliance composed of 32 members, and it was formed in 1949 as a collective defence organisation to counter the Soviet Union during the Cold War. It makes sense. In the frightening times. Now, the United States was a member right from the beginning in 1949 as a group of countries, which I'll show you in a moment. But its primary purpose today is to promote security and defence cooperation among its members, while also serving as a forum for consultation and coordination on political and security issues. Now, which countries are in NATO and how the countries actually joined. Now, they've got a nice little graphic. Another graphic section here. Okay, 1949, as you can see, Belgium. I think Canada. Has Canada removed itself now? I can't remember now. Anyway, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United States, United Kingdom, was 1949, 1952. Turkey and Greece. Yes, Turkey is a member of NATO. They might not be a member of the EU because they've got a terrible human rights record. Year admission, 1955. That was West Germany. East and West once they were unified. In 1990 when they brought down the wall. 1982 was Spain. 1999 Czech Republic, Hungary and Poland. 2004 Bulgaria, Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia and Slovenia. In 2009 Albania and Croatia. 2017 Montenegro. 2020 North Macedonia, and then the two most recent ones since Vladimir Putin decided to invade Ukraine. So what is it? Was he done by invading Ukraine? He scared the other countries into joining NATO. He's made NATO bigger because he invaded Ukraine. Fool! So anyway, 2023 Finland and 2024 Sweden joined. All that's been ratified. So Right, so what the dates on there? Which countries want to join NATO? There are a few, including Ukraine. Now they have been talking about joining Ukraine for a long time, and NATO have said yes to a degree, but they didn't say when, and that's all down to obviously Russia. While there's a possibility of there's issues, they weren't going to accept Ukraine. You don't want to encourage war, do you? It doesn't make sense. But in hindsight, it might have been a good idea to do it quick. But then people say, "What about the Minsk agreement, Minsk Accord?" Whereas, oh god, here we go. Who invaded who? So I'm gonna say you, I suppose. So NATO members agreed in 2008 that Georgia and Ukraine would join the alliance, but didn't specify when. Right. Obviously, that would have aggravated Putin, but it makes no sense in invading Ukraine if your argument is you don't want NATO on your border. They've already got countries on their border that are in NATO now. And also, if you invade Ukraine and you basically occupy Ukraine, who have you got on your border? Poland, who's in NATO. It makes no sense. This isn't about NATO. It is about, regarding the war in Ukraine, well, it's about mineral reserves and all sorts of shit. It's a huge amount of money can come out of Ukraine that there is, but and also it's about keeping face. He's gone too far. No, he thought it was going to be a quick war, and it wasn't. So, So how much does it cost to be in NATO? All right, what we've got to remember is there's two funding obligations to be in NATO. There's the common fund, and then there's your national funds. There's 1 and 2, okay? Now, the common fund, back in 2023, was about 3 points. I think it says that somewhere. Common fund, yeah, 3.6 billion in 2023. I think it's at 4.5 billion euros in 2025 that's been allowed. I was reading earlier. So I don't know what that correlates to. I didn't check. I suppose I could have done. So the common fund, which is the money that we actually pay into NATO, is that between 32 odd countries, is actually a relatively small amount of money. A tiny amount of money, actually. Now, in respect to everything, in fact, the United States gets a downside more back than they actually get when they put what they put in. For them, it's an investment. Now, NATO's common fund budget, 3.6 billion in 2023, and supports NATO's security investment program, the military budget, and the civil budget. Now, there's like a core of, you've probably seen it, haven't you? The NATO's vehicles and stuff. Just like there's infrastructure around basically all the member countries. There's infrastructure there, basic bases and stuff like that, and that pretty much comes out the $3.6 billion, and that's 23. Like I said, it's about 4.5 billion euros in 2025. These sources provide funding for collective military infrastructure such as defence readiness and interoperability. Bloody hell, that's a word. Interoperability. Ladies and tongue tie. Digital and cyber capabilities and other administrative costs. So that is not the actual funding for, well, munitions and equipment and armies and stuff like that. A tiny portion of it might be, but it's basically it's like the management, all right? It's just like the management of NATO. Now, the US is projected to cover roughly 16% of NATO's 2024, so last year's budget. So they cover around 572 million of the common fund. That's not a lot of money, and they get more than that back. Like I say, that says here, look. Although NATO benefits from US funding, the US also benefits from operating within, having access to military bases in foreign countries, as well as enabling US contractors to pitch and win NATO projects, which they do. They get more coming back than what they do putting in. It's madness coming out of NATO. I'll explain a bit more detail in a minute, because what we've got is the indirect funding, which is basically your national funding. Okay? That isn't NATO funding. No. It's your funding in your country, which is this. The 2% rule. And they are talking about increasing that now to 3%, the actual rule itself. But a lot of countries, including France, where I live, have not met the 2%. So that's a bit of an issue. So we do... Considering everything that's going on at the moment, to hold back on military spending feels like madness. Although I do think we need to rethink how we fight wars, because this is my feeling. Okay, I'm not a military expert, but my feeling is that we should be doing downside more with drones, and we haven't got enough people up it for a start. You know, we're not making them anymore. We haven't got no cannon fodder, right? So the more we can do with drones, the better. Get the kids off their PlayStations, all right? Let them do it. Anyway, the 2% rule, indirect funding. So in addition to the direct funding, each country is expected to spend at least 2% of its national gross domestic product. So that's all the money your country earns, okay? And it's got to be 2% of that. It's not difficult to work out, is it? Not really. But that's on its own national defence, okay? So all your military in your country, that is 2%. It's got to be spent on that minimum, okay? According to, well, the rule, 2% rule in NATO. Yeah, but some countries don't meet it. Nowhere near, right? I think France, for instance, is like 1.9%, so it's just under. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. We do need to spend more. The United States is 100% right on that. We've been in to spend the darn sight more for a very long time. And what's the UK do to get its 2.4%? I know, we'll spend, what was it again? I don't know, about 6 billion or whatever it was on 2 aircraft carriers. That's probably costing darn sight more just on thinking bent prop shafts. Ridiculous. That's not practical spending of money as far as I can see. Yeah, you get a large military. They're sitting ducks. This day and age, they're sitting ducks. You got high velocity missiles, what have you, and sort of like inertia missiles. You know, the things like the rods that shoot at the blink that go straight through the hulls on those things. They just literally the inertia, the density of them, like depleted uranium, and they just literally just fly straight through the hulls. They're not very easy things to shoot at the sky. They're travelling at such speed, such a rate of knots. Crazy. And then you've got these other things that come down, and all of a sudden these blades come out and just chop it into bits. Lovely. What the heck? Who comes up with this stuff? There's some living evil bastards out there, isn't there? But anyway, so I think we need to get straight, all right? We've got the common fund, which is actually a relatively small amount of money we do pay into NATO. You've got the 2% rule, which is basically what you pay on your national defence, your own military in your own country. Yes, that military ends up in bases in various places around the world as well. But that is a positive for the United States because, You're helping defend your own country by having a presence elsewhere. For a start, you do not want Russia to gain ground because you'll make Russia stronger. They will also be able to have more minerals, more ore, more iron, more everything they need to build more war machine, a bigger, stronger war machine. And they'll have more money as well, more GDP. So it makes sense to keep your basically keep your boot on the enemy. Keep them small. So, all right. So okay, you spend all this money now on your own munitions, your own tanks, your own planes, your own military. Fair enough. The United States is been paying around 3.5%. Fair enough. That's a lot of money, isn't it? But it's yours. That money did not go into NATO. It went into your own defence contracts in your own country. You're also supplying a huge amount of defence contracts to other countries within NATO. You get preferential treatment as a NATO member. You are quids in. And let's be honest about this. How many wars have you been involved in with the munitions that you've been buying saying it's NATO's funding? No. It's your funding for your military, not just on defence, but also as the aggressor. And also as, well, involved in wars that maybe you ought to keep your nose out of. If you know what I mean. Maybe. Who am I to argue? I'll give you a little idea here, right? This is a list of wars involving the United States. Okay, I'll crush it down a little bit there, but there's a list of 123 different wars. Some of them are way before NATO was a thing. So let's start from World War II. Oh, you got let's come up there, all right? Here we are. Look. I think that's a little bit. I don't think we're too worried about 1775 to 1783, are we? No, I don't think so. But let's get a bit nearer, chronologically, nearer to World War II, nearer to, well, I suppose 1949, when NATO was founded. Yes, we know about all these. Yes. Oh, about Civil War and all that sort of stuff. Oh, crikey. Oh, the Creek War. Oh, blimey, it's been so many wars. You are a worry lot, aren't you? You do like the war. War. You don't want to talk? No, we want war. Don't hear me. Blimey, 1832, let's get down. 1840, crikey. Been in a lot, haven't you? Yeah, been involved in a lot of wars. There we come. It's 1862. Alright, here we are. Oh, what's it? Are we near? No, 1917, 23. 23. No, World War II. Alright. So, NATO was funded in 1949. And we come. And a bit further than that. There we go. Operation Beleaguer, part of the Chinese Civil War and Cold War. All right, Puerto Rico, a nationalist party insurgency, part of a political violence in the United States during the Cold War, the Korean War. So that's the actual wars now. Okay, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have, but I'm just trying to make the point that a lot of these munitions that you say is for NATO is actually for your own operations. Vietnam War, that was a bloody waste of time, wasn't it? And a waste of human life. What is it about the United States? They start a war, they go into war, and then they run away. A bit like Afghanistan. What? They never complete the job. It's like, we see these movies, right? And they just stabbed someone, right? And they're still alive, and they're going to come back and kill you later because, get healed and all that. Or you knocked them out and you don't finish them off. What's that all about? And then they do come back and then stab you. Finish you off instead. So that makes no sense. Bash your head against the floor a few times. That'll do the job. God's sake. 1st Cavalry Division, Battle of La Drang, whatever that is, I don't know. Oh, Cambodia, of course. Yeah, Vietnam, Cambodia. The Laotian Civil War. So these are wars where, the US was involved in. Promesta Rebellion, whatever that is. Capture of Alan Lawrence Pope. Lebanon Crisis. Now we're getting more like it. The Bay of the Pigs invasion. You invaded by pigs? Blimey. Cuba. And then you said the Missile Crisis as well, didn't you? Operation Dragon Rouge. Simba Rebellion and the Congo Crisis. Decolonization of Africa during the Cold War. Stanleyville and Congo Leopoldville, sorry. Dominican Civil War. Can you see what I'm saying here? You've been very involved, haven't you? The Korean DMZ conflict and the Korean demilitarized zone. Cambodian Civil War. These are all, along with other countries as well, be involved in with your munitions, your tanks, and your equipment that you've paid for. Not for NATO. Lebanon. Grenada. Libya. The Tanker War. The Persian Gulf. United States invasion of Panama. Oh my God, we're not going to do that again, are we? Oh, the canal, wasn't it? Crikey. The US troops prepared to take a neighborhood in Panama City in December 1989. Then we've got the Gulf War. The Iraq no-fly zone, enforcement operations. Obviously in Iraq. Somalia Civil War. Bosnia War. You see my point here? It's hypocrisy. That's what it is. Total hypocrisy. And it's a lie. So you're not funding NATO. Well, you are, but for about $500 million, right? It's a small amount of money, but you are getting it back in contracts for your own industries. It's shared amongst obviously the 32 members. But none of this makes... I don't understand why they keep weighing heavy on that. Like, funding NATO. That's the wrong terminology. It's the wrong terminology. Okay, sometimes I do bring it up as, on your own, on the defences and stuff. But the way it's given, it's misleading. And people are getting the wrong idea. And the people in the United States, I don't say, why my taxpayers' dollars and all that, my tax and all that I pay. Why should it be going to all those countries over there? We're all way over here. And no, it's not. It is in case of war. In case of. It hasn't happened yet. Might not be long. It hasn't happened yet. Obviously, if Ukraine was, well, then it would be. But then all the members would have to step up. I hope that was cleared mud. But, you see what I'm saying, though, can't you? At the end of the day, it's very misleading. And not a lot of people are actually taking it in as it really is. They just don't get it. They just see the money. They just see money, because that's what they've been told. Been misled. Just like the people regarding the UK regarding Brexit, a complete and utter disaster it's been for the UK. But they were told they'd be a lot better off out of the European Union because of sovereignty and all that, make their own laws and all that. And in fact, actually, we've lost more sovereignty being out of the European Union than we ever did while we were in it. The whole thing is a disaster, and it was a con job. And we had the snake oil salesman, you might have heard of him, his name is Nigel Farage. He is an evil little bastard who quite frankly needs to be, keel-hauled. Do you know a tall ship anywhere? With barnacles on the bottom of the hull? I'd pay to see it. Okay? The keyholing, that is. Yeah. Stuff that needs to be done. Anyway. No, don't do it. It's not legal. But please, beep the like button and maybe subscribe to the channel, little bell icon, so you get a warm fuzzy feeling in your pocket every time I upload another video. And if you want to support the channel, you can do it on Patreon or buy. It's got links down below. Blimey, I said that really quickly. But yeah. Anyway. I got it wrong. Let us know in the comments down below. Doodaloo.